talking quite a lot lately about how long it takes to build a general base of fitness, how quick it takes to lose it again, but then actually if you have got it, how quickly you can bring it back up again.
So you're talking about laying the foundations.
Hmm.
Yeah. So laying the foundations takes a long time, and the later you start, the longer it takes.
Yeah.
So if you were athletic growing up and you maintain that through your late teens into your early 20s, up into 30s and 40s and beyond, well, the foundation's put in place in the teenage years, isn't it? And it's just a case of building upon that, maintaining it. It's not particularly difficult. Not that the training is easy, because the training isn't easy, but the habits and choices and all the other things that go into it are natural, or as close to natural as they can be if it's been part and parcel of your life from day dot, which is why we're so big on modelling it to our kids, because we don't want either of them to experience what we experienced and having to lay those foundations. Well, for me it was my late teens, and for you it was your mid-20s, wasn't it?
Late 20s, right?
Yeah, it's not fun. So yeah, the earlier you start, the easier it is. If you're starting, as many people do, because what happens with a lot of people is they do play sport, they are somewhat athletic growing up into their teens, and then they kind of stop, and then they stop, and they stop for sufficiently long enough that they do actually regress to nothing, and then worse than nothing, i.e. they get fat or really out of shape, or that. So you're kind of starting again in your mid-20s, late 20s. Realistically, you're probably looking at 18 months to 3 years. 18 months to 3 years. That's being positive, actually, thinking about it. Because just to give a simple example, when I first started training, I was 18 and 11 months, September 2009. And I worked damn hard that first year. I lost loads of weight. I got into decent nick. And I thought I was respectably strong as well. There was a lad who I trained with briefly at uni, and he'd never lifted weights before, but he'd been very active, very active. And within maybe 12 to 16 weeks of not even particularly disciplined training, like when I was at university, I was at like peak autistic levels of health and well-being. Like I wouldn't go out, I wouldn't drink. I was teetotal for pretty much my entire first year.
Is that your chicken and broccoli phase?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was proper autistic about it. And this guy who just kind of lived a normal university existence, but because he was so active and he had that strong foundation that had been built from childhood, he overtook me within 12, 16 weeks of haphazard training. He was outlifting me. He put on more muscle, all that other stuff. So that's just to give you an example of how of the difference between the two. But for me to then get to that point that guy got to was another couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, another about 4 years or so, I think, total for me. So it takes a really, really, really long time. But to that second point that you made, once you have it, it's it's relatively painless to maintain. Would you say? Would you say it's relatively painless? Obviously not at the moment because you're pregnant, doesn't count. But when you weren't pregnant,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that as I started to experience pain through the development of the pregnancy and started to give up a little bit when I found it harder and found it too hard to do, rather than using my noggin and finding a way to do it,
yeah,
I stopped doing it and saw a backslide very quickly. But I started training properly again, and by training, as you explained to me yesterday, is discipline and intent, with a structured program. What, less than like a week ago, and already I'm finding my morning walks easier. Already I'm finding picking the kids up easier. So yeah, so I've probably only had a couple of years, maybe 3 to 5 years less than that, probably 3 years of training under my belt, and it faded within 6 weeks, but within a week, I, excuse me, got 90% of the way back.
Yeah.
And I think that, to that point, and back to your first point, um, you were competing against the fit lad at 18, but you got to his point 3 years later. Like, I've bemoaned the fact that I don't have a good foundation of fitness or strength because I didn't start until my 20s. But now I am fitter and stronger than most women my age, and more than most pregnant women my age, because I've carried on.
I'd
Because
say
it is
almost all pregnant.
because it is eminently possible, just takes longer than it would have done had I had that
Yeah. Yeah.
foundation.
Yeah. No, this is the thing. Like, and this is, I've got a bit of a depressed tone of voice on because this is probably one of the most difficult things that I teach, certainly from a business point of view, because it's a very unattractive value proposition, isn't it? You know, I've got a 3 month program where you're going to come with me, and what realistically are you going to achieve within that 3 months? Well, the truth is very little, actually.
Yeah.
If we're talking pure results, quote
Results.
unquote, what
Yeah.
you could eventually think of results for a fitness program, what you will get is the habits and systems that you need. Well, not even the habits actually, because the habits probably
Come.
you'll get better habits because you'll be doing the program that gets you
Yeah.
habits. But you have the system, but then you've got to keep doing it for years,
Well, and to that
which is
point,
very depressing, isn't it?
on Monday, you went
Yes.
out for your walk and you came home and said, Jess, have you done a micro workout? Because we talked about me doing one. I said, no, you were going to write me one. And you looked me in the eye and went, Jess, you have read enough of my stuff. You are smart enough to have come up with 4 exercises to shove together in a sensible order to do for 15 minutes. And it was actually that bit of a kick up the bum for
Yeah.
you to say, Jess, you have all the tools. And within a week,
Well, yeah, because this is the thing as well.
I've written my gym program. I've written my micro workouts, and I believe in it, and I believe it's achievable. So I've been doing it.
Because part of laying the foundation isn't it's not necessarily even the exercising itself, the training itself. It's actually understanding how to do it
Mm.
and how to adapt it and apply critical thinking to a base of knowledge to create a sane, safe, sustainable program, which you did with some tap around the head with a common sense stick.
And what to do when life throws you lemons.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
yeah, you have to, yeah. So because it's we talked a little bit about this, didn't we, on the walk the other day? Difference between training and exercise, and how most people. So most people just exercise; they don't train.
yeah,
So when I said to you through the pregnancy, probably for a good couple of months, you haven't trained,
yeah,
and you thought, yeah, I have. I've been going to the gym. I said, no, 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 no. That's not training because training is a logical system of workouts that build you up towards a specific goal. Well, the training program, because it was a program,
mm,
training program that you were using before you got pregnant, your early stage of pregnancy, is now no longer appropriate to your new state.
yeah,
So that's why you were missing workouts, like you hadn't done any hard conditioning for weeks.
yeah.
You're dropping the occasional workout, that sort of stuff, which basically then means you're just exercising, which is getting your heart rate up,
Moving your body a
getting
bit. Yeah,
warm, moving your body, which is great.
better than
It's
nothing.
better than nothing, and
Yeah.
and very very commendable, but isn't going to move you anywhere.
Well, and as we saw, actually moved the needle backwards. I was struggling with the walking. I was struggling with tasks of daily living. I
Well,
was
no, the
in
exercising wasn't
pain.
making you worse,
No, but
so it didn't move the needle backwards. That's all.
I guess with the pregnancy pushing on, I needed to push back harder.
No, so what happened was, but what it did is it slowed your decline,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
if you did
that's true.
absolutely fuck all
Yeah.
when you're pregnant
Yeah.
and you just eat shit and you get fat like most women do,
Yeah.
right, then you would be feeling it much worse than you are.
Yeah.
So what your exercising was doing was arresting that decline.
Yeah.
It was helping you be more conscious around food choices.
Yeah.
It was burning calories, which stops you accumulating body fat, doesn't it? It was doing something to stimulate your muscles to prevent lots of joint pain and things that you get. So it was doing
Yeah.
all of those wonderful things, but not very well. So as I say,
Mm.
it was slowing your decline rather
and
than.
just not to a level I was happy with, to provide me with the comfort of doing
Well,
life.
yeah, because you were still declining. That's the
Yeah,
point. So
yeah,
the exercising you were. So this is the thing. People, you're either progressing or regressing. You cannot stay in the same.
yeah,
That you cannot stay. It's a myth to believe that you can stay in the same state. You can't. You are either going forwards or going backwards. It may not be particularly fast. It may be so slow as to be not discernible
yeah,
in a period of days, weeks, months.
yeah,
But you zoom out far enough, and you will see that you are always moving in one direction or the other.
yeah,
So your exercising was you were declining, but just very 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 slow, or more
mm,
slowly than if you weren't doing anything at all. And what we needed to do is we needed to get you training again, which you did. You applied critical thinking. You've written yourself your own damn program using my stuff,
yeah,
and now you're on the up again.
yeah,
So you've now stopped declining. You know you're not staying flat on a level. You're actually improving.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, this whole idea of um because I think I kind of perhaps just contradicted myself because about 5 minutes ago I said maintaining results. Maintaining results, you don't really maintain results actually. You just continue progressing very slowly.
yeah,
You know, you get some results and then you maintain them, which means progressing very slowly, making incremental improvements brick by brick over many many months and years, decades, and then you die.
yeah,
That's literally that's literally how it works. And people who say otherwise, in my opinion, are selling bollocks, actually. But yes, the third thing you want to say about which is relevant because we just talked about it is regaining results when you
yeah,
so when you have stopped training for a little while, you do fall off the wagon. I can't say so. The salesman and marketer in me wants to say that like it happens to everyone, that everyone falls off the wagon. It's oh it's okay, it's not your fault, it's normal. I actually disagree. I've never fallen off the wagon with training.
to me you're not really normal.
No, 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 it's not relevant. I know lots of people like me who've never fallen off the wagon with training. I'm obviously by definition not normal, Jess, but anyone who fucking exercises more, and I'm not
Yeah,
trained,
this is
exercises is not normal in the modern world. Go outside, look at the high street. You know,
mm,
when great, it's a 60 something% of the population are overweight and half of those people are obese.
mm,
Therefore, more than 50% of the population are out of shape.
yeah,
So it's not normal to even do fuck
do
all.
something, yeah,
So yeah, I am abnormal in that regard, I suppose. Um, but no, I don't believe it's normal to fall off the wagon. Actually, I
yeah,
don't. I don't believe it's normal to fall off the wagon. I think it's a character flaw,
mm,
actually, and it just you can always do something no matter how busy you get. Like I remember when I was in ambulance and I was driving, going all over the country for courses with no access to gyms and stuff. I managed to train, so I'd get home on a Friday night. I'd get home probably about 6 7 p.m. on a Friday. I had two gym memberships. I had a gym membership to a warehouse gym, and also a gym membership to a 24-hour gym, which then became like an a 6 till midnight gym, but they still advertised as 24 hours. I know, but it was down the road from my house. It was a bit hokey, but
yeah,
it had a squat rack and some weights in it, so it was fine. And I would go straight down to there at like 9 o'clock at night, and I'd do
mm,
something on the Friday, and then I'd train again on the Saturday afternoon, and again on the Sunday morning, and then I'd do some like bodyweight stuff in my hotel room when I was away. Like, most people, others who exercise and stuff, who I was on courses with and stuff, were they just said they didn't do anything for the 4 weeks or whatever.
yeah,
And I don't think that's normal. I think that's a character flaw, and but again, more often than not, people do fall off the wagon. The good news is when you do, if you do, then getting the results you got back is far easier than getting them in the first place. You regain muscle strength, and um, you can lose body fat again faster
yeah,
than those changes took to happen in the first instance. I'm not going to embarrass myself with really bad science, but in one of my books, Lift, which is only for the full time and letter subscribers, I do believe I discussed the mechanism properly with a reference and everything. There are biological mechanisms that are well understood. There's one of which has actually been relatively recently uncovered, about why that happens. This whole regaining
like
effect.
readiness kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into it on the because all that will happen is I'll say the wrong thing and then some dickhead on LinkedIn will listen to this and then say Phil's full of shit. So if you want to know, yeah, I've written it down somewhere with a proper reference. But the point is that we know we know, and we know it happens. Like we've known it's happens. It's been observed since the early 1900s. People like observed this phenomenon,
Yeah.
um, but we now know why it happens. So we know it is definitely a thing. It's not just an anecdotal thing. It does actually. There are mechanisms as to why
Yeah.
that happens, which is pretty cool, actually.
And I have to say, last week, well, this week, just after I did one proper workout and a micro workout,
Yeah.
the sudden readiness of my body was like, oh, okay, this is a thing, and it does give you
Mm.
that
Well,
that oomph.
after lockdown. So obviously I didn't stop training during lockdown because I'm not a lazy degenerate. Even though government told us to all hide under our beds and shut the gym, shut gyms
For health.
for the health of the nation, while also keeping the takeaways open and encouraging people to frequent them.
Mm.
Do you remember old Boris
Oh yeah,
encouraging people to use takeaways and eat out to help out as well, while the gyms were still kind of shut or not really
yeah.
allowed to be open properly? Yeah, I remember that. Um, not bitter. But anyway, I remember going back in on the first day back, and we had to book the slots, didn't we?
Yes.
And I squatted for the first time, and I felt like a baby gazelle. My legs were all shaky. I think I worked up to something like 100 kilo for a couple of sets of five. Bearing in mind, just prior to the lockdown, I was kind of peak strong fat, so I was up over 200 kilos for reps. I remember trying to do that. I was doing it to show off to you at the CrossFit rig while you were on the cardio machines. I remember doing
Yes.
that a couple of
I
times.
do.
Yeah, so I lost quite a lot of strength during the lockdown, even though I was doing lots of running and lots of body weight. I also lost lots of weight too because I
Yeah.
did lots of cardio and things, so that won't have helped with the whole strength thing. Um, but I think it was within about 2 or 3 weeks. I'd
So what, like
yeah,
6 training sessions or
yeah,
something?
I was back to 85-90% of previous
Yeah.
strength, which, considering that I'd lost weight and improved cardiovascular condition,
Yeah.
is probably represents where I should be based
What you
on
should have
based on
been. Yeah.
the difference in size of Phil.
Yeah.
So yeah, it didn't take long to get that back at all,
Yeah.
and I even felt it. So I felt when I walked the squat out, like I say, baby gazelle, because I was all
Mhm.
shaky, my legs were all shaky and stuff, and that's loss of like neuromuscular coordination.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and then obviously every time I went back in, I felt that. I felt like I was
Remembering. Yeah.
remembering. Oh, this is how you do a barbell back squat. This is how you do this.
Yeah.
So the other. Um,
Fascinating.
well, it is rather.
Yeah.
But yeah, so please don't fall off the wagon. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's okay if you do, because it's not.
Mm.
You're falling off the wagon because you're lazy, one or a combination of lazy or disorganized. You know. But if you do, just understand that results do come back relatively swiftly when you do get your act together, get back into the gym. But best thing to do is just to not fall off the wagon at all.
Can I ask you one last question then about falling off the wagon?
Yes.
Would you say that like people fall off the wagon because what they're doing feels too hard based on what's happening in their life at the moment? Would you?
It's a bit charitable.
Okay, let's go with
Let's
it.
go with that.
Um, that's what happened to me. Like I didn't stop doing what I was doing, but I wasn't doing what I
Are we talking about most recently?
yeah. Because
Pregnancy's different though. This is why I don't train pregnant women, Jess. Aches a while, but it's one of the. I'm not qualified. I've got no desire to get a qualification for this reason.
well, let's extrapolate it out and then say I started working nights instead.
That's lazy or disorganized. I've trained through nights.
Yeah.
I've worked with people. There was a bloke who I used to be on team with, and he'd fucking on his nights. He loved nights because he'd fucking go home from work, and he was triathlon, and he'd go and he'd do
Yeah.
his swim, and then he'd do his resistance workout, and it helped him sleep during the day.
I guess is there an argument for
Yes.
if you could amend your training sufficiently to accommodate your life, people would fall off the wagon
Well,
less
lazy or
if they
disorganized. I
had.
said lazy and disorganized. One or a combination of lazy and disorganized.
But is ignorant?
Yes, that's laziness, intellectual laziness, isn't it? Like it's not hard. Like okay, fine. So a busy period of my business coming up, for example. Let's say you're a director of an ambitious company and you've got a big growth push on because it's Q1's coming up and you're going to smash it and do some top billing or whatever they say. Right. Okay, fine. So you know that you're going to go up from working an average of 50 hours a week to an average of 60 hours a week. Okay. Well, then you're going to have to just shrink your training a little bit to accommodate. So instead of trying to maintain what you're doing at your current thing, you're going to have to accept, okay, work's going to come first for the time being, because it's not going to last forever. And if it does, you're an idiot, because I don't think anyone can sustain it for that long. Believe me, I've tried. So you have to shrink training a little bit, don't you? You
Yeah.
have to shrink training back, and actually have to accept, okay, well maybe I can't do as much as I would like to, so I'm going to have to look at my training and go, okay, well, what's the junk I can cut?
Mm.
What exercises? Let's get right down to granular. What exercises are giving me the most bang for my buck?
Yeah.
Okay, what exercises do I need to do to facilitate that, as in health and injury prevention?
Yeah.
So injury rehab, if you've got pain injuries and you've been assessed by an appropriately qualified person, they say you can train, and they may give you some certain exercises you need to do to maintain, joint health and all that other shit. Do those. What injuries, prehab they call it in the wanky exercise science spheres. Um, what exercises are going to enable me? So let's look at the squat, okay? What exercise? Barbell back squat is most productive lift on your leg workout. What exercises are going to help you continue doing that? So strengthening the abs, for example, to prevent to keep your core strong,
Yeah.
um, that sort of stuff. And then just like fucking cut everything else out for a little bit.
Mm.
Will you get as much progress? Probably not. You, probably not. So almost certainly not if you're looking to like gain muscle and stuff, 'cause that requires volume, right? But hang on, you just have to just cut that out and then just jiggle it around a little bit. Okay, well I like doing long cardio sessions of upwards of an hour. Oh, well, I can't do that now. Well, I'm gonna have to do some sprints then, aren't I?
Mm.
To get a similar, not ideal, not optimal, not what you want to do, but you can get something in a shorter period of time. So I'll do that.
I see what you say about intellectual laziness now, because the alternative is I can't do what I want,
Yeah.
so I'll do nothing.
Cardio is another one, right? Let's pretend I do my running outside, and the amount of people I know who do running,
Mm.
and then the weather gets shit and cold,
And stop.
they stop.
Yeah.
When they could just go on Gumtree or go on Facebook Marketplace and buy a spin bike, an
Yeah.
ex gym spin bike like the one that we've got in our downstairs room,
Mm-hmm.
put that in your downstairs room.
Yeah.
Well, now you can do cardio
Yeah.
when it's wet. Chick.
Yeah.
So you see, it is intellectual
Yeah.
laziness. There are reasons, there are never excuses for falling off the wagon, I think. Um, a lack of the right information, I probably should say it because it's on the sales page for Tyreman letter, isn't it? But one of the reasons people fall off the wagon is a lack of the right information at the right time. So you end up in the cycle of you train hard, get results, then something happens
Yeah.
to make you fall off the wagon, and you lose the results,
Yeah.
and then you get all pissed off. So you train hard, and this is the vicious cycle that probably the majority of people who take training seriously
Yeah.
actually do
Finds
find
that.
themselves stuck in. It is a lack of the right information and support to overcome that potentially. But again, that's if you're intellectually lazy or disorganized, then even the right information and support's not actually going to help
Yeah. You've got
because
to make it work for you.
well, yeah, exactly, critical thinking. So anyway, that was a rambling mess of a podcast, wasn't it, Jess?
Interesting.
It was rather, wasn't it? So yeah, if you fall off the wagon, it's because you're lazy or disorganized. And on that note, we're done. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you've gotten to this far into the recording, because you've only gotten this far into the recording if you want to hear more, because that'd be weird otherwise, because these are really shit by modern YouTube standards. What else? There's a report that you can get of mine, How to Build Muscle and Strength the Natural Way. It's free, but you do have to subscribe to my marketing emails to get it. The link for that is on the screen, philtimon.co.uk/report. And on that note, we are done.